Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Sportsbook Confidential. My name is John Sullivan, and I'm coming to you live from the FingerLakes1.com studios in Seneca Falls, New York. And this little show is to help you learn and grow as a sports bettor. And we've got a nice holiday edition of the show for you, nothing too fancy. We're going to talk bowl games today, and I'm going to tell you pretty much how little I know about bowl games. I listened to some really good content this week, and I have some tips and tricks for you if you are interested in placing wagers on the bowl games while you're enjoying your holiday festivals and whatnot. We're going to talk Friday night NHL, and we got a short schedule there, and then big Week 16 in the NFL, a lot of playoff position at stake, some interesting games, and I think there's some good value there. And we've got games on both Saturday and Sunday in the NFL. But before we do that, we have to get through mostly the bad news, and that is, there's my picks there. We could start by updating my bankroll, and it was not a good week for me. 1-4 on the week, and we started with a bankroll of $475. And we had on Friday night, we had the Stars and the Golden Knights over, and that missed. I did say it was a very juicy number on the Golden Knights, and they did win in that game by 1 goal. Minus $16 to the bankroll. And then Saturday was the Army-Navy game. We had Navy minus 10.5, and that was a no sweat for us at all, and that was plus $16 to the bankroll. And then on Sunday, we had the Chiefs over, and that game ended up being in a snowstorm. And normally I would buy out of a wager in that situation where the weather is definitely going to impact the game. Of course, I can't do that on the show because we're only here one day a week. So minus $16 to the bankroll. And then we had the Washington football team, the Potato Skins, plus 5.5 points. And if you followed that game last week, you know what happened on the last play of the game. The quarterback fumbled with 1 second left, and the Eagles took it back for a meaningless touchdown, except it covered the spread for them, and it made my bet lose. So minus $16 to the bankroll. And then finally, we had the Saints over on Monday night, and the Saints did exactly what I thought they would do. They put up 34 points, but unfortunately the Colts could only put up 7 points, and Jacoby Brissett had an awful game. He missed a lot of throws. So he fell about 4 or 5 points short there, so minus $16 to the bankroll. You do the math, and that's minus $48, and that brings our bankroll down to $427, which I believe is an all-time low on this show for my bankroll. So hopefully we'll start moving in the right direction. If you divide by 30, as we always do, because we try to remain selective sports bettors and not place too many wagers, that's going to make our bet size $14 this week as we move forward. So pretty ugly, but it's a process, and we'll continue to try and improve. So today's lesson's about betting bowl games, and I don't have a whole lot of wisdom for you here. I did a college football model for the regular season, and we went over games that I liked, and I don't feel as strongly about my college football model as I do about my pro football model. I feel like that is much more accurate. But we had a 15-week regular season of college football, and now we're on to the bowl games. The bowl matchups were announced. So the first question I have here on the screen is bowl season higher or lower variance than regular season? So we have bowl matchups, and obviously to be in a bowl game, you have to have 6 wins or more. So most of these teams have winning records, so they're better, technically better upper echelon teams. And so you expect the spreads to be smaller because, as good teams play each other, hopefully there aren't as many mismatches. And the amount of points between teams will be overall generally less. So the question is it make it higher or lower variance than regular season games? And that is a question that is open to interpretation, but my opinion is yes, I think bowl games are higher variance. There are lots of reasons why teams will outperform their projections or underperform their projections. So I listened to Bet the Process with Rufus Peabody, and He did a quick thing on his last podcast about going through closing lines for since 2004, and the results had a higher standard deviation than the regular season lines from that same period. Now, whether that's actionable information is open to interpretation as well, but there's some math basis behind whether or not results are more unpredictable during bowl season. So now the next thing is you're going to hear a lot of people during bowl season, pundits, touts, whatever, talk about motivation. Does motivation really play a factor in bowl games? Does a bowl game amount to an exhibition game? Now, obviously, in the college football playoff, the bowl game does not amount to an exhibition game. They're playing for a national championship. But in all the other bowl games, is this bowl game a vacation for the team? They go out to a warm weather location. They get to do a lot of social activities, and then they play a football game at the end. And now you've got coaches that are at the end of their contracts that need a bowl win for their resume, and they're going to want to win the game a lot more than other coaches. You have players that may sit out the bowl games, especially top-end NFL caliber talent that are sitting. They don't want to risk injury before the draft that comes up in the spring. And that's very commonplace these days. It only started in the last 5 years or so, but a first-round pick is potentially risking hundreds of thousands of dollars in signing money by injuring himself in a bowl game, especially if it's a non-playoff bowl game. So you can take whatever narrative you want. Bowl games are a different animal as far as I'm concerned. But you also have a full season of data to compare the team. So not only are you looking at the numbers, you're looking at the rosters to see who's playing, and then you're looking at each team situationally to try and find an edge. There's 36 bowl games, so there's 72 teams to go through, and there might be value in one of those if you're willing to take the time and go through them. So the third question I have is, are bowl games priced or limited differently than regular season games? And you would think that if the bowl games had more variance and therefore there may be more incentive to bet the underdogs and to bet the higher payouts, that the sports books would try to limit you and reduce the amount of money on the game. That is not the case. It seems that the strategy, which has already passed, I guess, in this season, but is when the bowl games are announced, and they were announced last Sunday, is to pick the game that you feel has the most value and bet it as early as you can. College does not. Sportsbooks have very different limits, but college games are not priced as high as NFL games. You can get $5,000-$10,000 on an NFL game at your local sports book. College, you might be lucky to get $2,000. Obviously, I don't bet that high, but it does make a difference if you're betting those stakes. But if you're a $100 better or less, it doesn't really matter. You can go ahead and drop, a bet early on and try to get a very good number. And, you can always, once again, I talked about buying out with the snowstorm game. If a player turns up to be missing for that game or out or suspended or whatever, then, you can always buy out of that wager and take a very tiny loss and move on to the next one. So before we move on from the sportsbook lesson, I have a website to show you. I found this morning. Since I did not do a model for all the bowl games, you'll see up on the screen here. This is from Massey Peabody Analytics. That's massey-peabody.com. And they did projections for bowl games, just the spread, not the total. And they have a confidence ranking from, 1 would be the lowest and 39, I think, is the highest, where the highest number indicates their highest confidence that the favorite is going to win, and the lowest number indicates that it's least likely that the favorite will win. And they used to post NFL numbers every week, and I would compare my model to their model every week, and it was pretty favorable. Like I said, my college model is not as good as theirs, so I have pretty good confidence in their rankings. But just because a team on paper is favored by 17 points or whatever doesn't mean that's how it's going to play out. So if you're interested in betting on bowl games and you're sitting on the couch and you want to watch some bowl games and have a little action on them, I can understand that. I recommend you check out Massey Peabody and check out their blog post there about, it says Confidence Pool. I believe it's called the Confidence Pool, but it's just a spreadsheet that I'm showing you right now. And that'll give you some ammo to go ahead and bet the bowl games and have yourself a good time over the holiday season. So that's it for our sportsbook lesson today. I probably gave you more questions than answers about bowl games, but if I get you to research it a little bit more and get you interested, then I think I've done my job. So with that, let's move right along to NHL on Friday. And we've got 4 games on the schedule, and I'm going to talk about them briefly. We have the Stars plus 110 at the Florida Panthers, minus 121, and the over-under is 5.5. We got Ben Bishop going against Bobrovsky tonight in the goaltending matchup. Stars are on the road coming off a back-to-back. They beat Tampa Bay last night in overtime, so I'm sure they're a little laggy. But Bishop did not play. He's not playing back-to-back. So I don't have a strong opinion one way or another on this game. Panthers games have a tendency to go over 6, so I like the over here, but I don't know if that's going to be my play today. And then we have the Toronto Maple Leafs minus 154 at the Rangers, plus 138 at Madison Square Garden. 6.5 is the total. The Rangers have been scoring goals lately. They've got some good young goal scorers. Their goaltending is inconsistent, and the Maple Leafs have been struggling. But any given night, they could put up a ton of goals, and that's why that total is so high. Not much value on either side here. I guess if, the Rangers seems to be a little more attractive to me, but that game is also a pass for me. Capitals at Devils. Capitals are minus 190 on the money line. Devils plus 169 at home. Total is 6, which I think would probably go over there. Maybe I would think about taking the Capitals on the puck line. They are having a nice rest, and the Devils are back home after a road trip. So, the Devils traded away Taylor Hall just a few days ago, so that team's kind of in turmoil, but they did pull out a win in their last game. And the game that intrigues me the most is the Penguins on the road at the Oilers. They're working on their West Coast trip, and Penguins are minus 119, Oilers plus 108. 6 is the total. These teams, the Penguins, obviously without Sidney Crosby, they're a step below where they would be at full strength. The Oilers, although they have, I still think they're holding on to first in their division, have just been wildly inconsistent. And it's been feast or famine with the goals. But I think even though Tristan Jarry's expected to start for the Penguins, and he's been awesome for them as their backup goalie, I feel like goals are going to be scored here tonight, one way or the other. You have probably a tired Pittsburgh team traveling, and usually when Edmonton scores early, they score often. So I like the over here. It is, I guess I would lean towards the home team there, but that bet doesn't really excite me too much. So that's it for the NHL tonight, and we'll move right along to NFL Week 16. Now, almost all of the playoff spots have been secured. There's a couple division titles up for grabs, but there's very important playoff position, and we will go through them. I'll talk about them as we go through the games. So we're going to start off with 3 games on Saturday. And the first one is the Texans at the Bucks. Bucks are 3-point dogs. 50 is the total. And for those of you that don't follow the show regularly, the numbers in parentheses are my model projections for the game. And my model predicts the Bucks is 1.35 dogs, 50.14. So the total's right on. My model says you're getting about 1.5 of value taking the Bucks. It's not really enough for me to place a wager on that game. Texans win this game. They have a stranglehold on the AFC South. Bills at the Patriots, big game. Both of those teams have already qualified for the playoffs. If the Bills want to win the division, they're going to have to beat the Patriots this week. And obviously the Bills will have to win next week. I'm not sure if the Patriots have to lose or not, but that would mean the difference between the Bills going on the road for the wild card or them getting a home game in the divisional round. Patriots line is minus 6.5, 37.5. I have it at minus 3.83, 38. The Patriots have had trouble scoring points the last couple of weeks. I feel like teams have kind of figured them out, and they haven't been able. Their first-round pick, Harry, the wide receiver, he's coming on stronger. He's played really well the last couple of games. But I feel like this is a really good cover spot for the Bills. They have a shot at winning this game. I don't feel like they're getting enough on the money line for me to put money on the money line. But Bills at 6.5 is, you're getting basically 3 points of value on that game. So I like that game very much. Rams at the 49ers Saturday night. 49ers minus 6.5, 44. Minus 5.64, my model says, and 49.81. So the model likes the over 44 here. The model also leans a little bit to the 49ers. Both of these teams need this game. The Rams only have like a 10% chance of making the playoffs, but they have to win. And the 49ers are battling the Seahawks for the division title. And again, the winner gets a bye and a home game as opposed to going on the road. So both of these teams need this game. Both of these teams will extend the game. The only scenario I can see is if the 49ers get up by like 25 points, then they'll take their foot off the gas. But 44 is a pretty low number, I think, for this game. And I don't anticipate there being any weather issues. So I like the over there. Jaguars at Falcons, minus 7.5, 46.5. You got two teams playing out the string. Nobody's really has anything to play for here. My model has the Falcons favored by 11.3, and then 45.57 is the total. So the total's right on, but that's 4 points of value for the Falcons. So I like the Falcons here at home. They've played a really good second half. If they didn't play such a horrible first half of the season, they'd be a playoff contender. You got the Ravens at the Browns. The Ravens are probably undisputed the best team in the league right now. The Browns are a very disheveled, emotionally beaten team, if not physically beaten. The Browns are 10-point dogs, 49.5. I have it at 10.01, 50.06, so it's right on. The Ravens, basically, I think if they win one more game, they have clinched home field throughout, so not necessary for them to win this game, but I'm sure they'll be very interested in finishing in front. Panthers at the Colts. Again, two more teams that are eliminated. Colts minus 6.5, 46. I have the Colts at minus 5.5, 46.98. So again, the total is pretty much right on. The Colts played such a bad game last week. I feel like they'll be improved, but the Panthers have been very competitive, even though they have a losing record. They don't lose their games by a whole lot of points. They lost by 6 last week. So 6.5 is a lot of points. I kind of like the Panthers covering here, but my model says take the Colts. I think that's going to be a pass for me. Bengals at the Dolphins. Tank Bowl. Obviously, the team with the worst record gets a higher draft pick. Dolphins getting a point at home, 45.5. I have the Bengals as 0.24 favorites, basically a coin flip, 42.8. So it leans over. It leans under. But this is a game where neither team really wants to win and neither team really wants to lose, and it's a true coin flip, and what are you going to do? So I would probably stay away from that game. That's my recommendation. And then the Steelers at the Jets, plus 337. I have the Steelers as 4.52 favorites at 38.43, so that leans a little bit to the over. The Steelers need this win. They have to win out to keep their playoff hopes alive, so you know that they will extend this game no matter what. So that leads me to believe that the over would be a good play here. I don't have a strong feeling about the spread, but it says you're getting about 1.5 of value by taking the Steelers minus the 3. And let's see the other half of the schedule for Sunday. We have the Saints at the Titans. Titans getting 2.5 at home. 50.5 is the total. I have the Titans as 0.45 favorites and 49.79 total. Now, the Saints are not as good on the road. Obviously, they were awesome at home last week. They were home the last 2 weeks. This could be much of a letdown game for them. The Titans need this game to keep their playoff hopes alive, and they need to hope that the Texans lose. And then that opens things way up for the Titans, who are about 40% to make the playoffs right now. So I like the Titans. At 3, I really like the Titans with the points. Tannehill's played really well, and he hasn't had a lot of bad turnovers. And every time when I finally get on his bandwagon, I'm sure he'll have a horrible game. But the numbers say take the Titans there. Giants at the Washington Skins. Skins are 2.5 favorites, 41. Boy, they really crushed me last week. I have the Skins as 0.73 favorites, so basically a coin flip, 42.4. So my inclination would be to take the points here. You're getting about 2 points worth of value taking the Giants. But, I feel like the Skins have a lot more to play for. Haskins, has really come along in the last week. I think he's very undervalued as a quarterback. He obviously is not as good as some of the other guys that were drafted ahead of him, but he's improved tremendously. And I think given the right circumstances, he will excel in the future. Lions at the Broncos. Broncos minus 6.5, 37.5. I have Broncos at minus 7.86, 39.15. So that leans over. You never know in a Denver game. It could be a snowstorm. Lions have a third-string quarterback. They're playing out the string. They've had trouble scoring points the last couple of games. I like the Broncos here, especially if it's not snowing, to get that running game going and play action. And, 6.5, 7 points. I feel like they can cover that spread. It leans a little bit to the over, but I have to wait and see what the weather was before I'd make a determination. Now we have the Raiders at the Chargers, and the Raiders just had a big fail last week against Jacksonville. Chargers are minus 7, 45.5. My model has them at minus 9.13, 44.32. So obviously the Raiders have personnel issues, and every time I've bet the Raiders under, because that leans a little bit to taking the under, the Raiders have ended up scoring a bunch of points. So I'm just going to stay away from that game. I don't know what to think about it. Cowboys at the Eagles. This is basically a game for the division. Either team wins out and they win the division, so they're playing each other in Week 16. Eagles at home getting 1.5 points, 46.5. I have it as 0.36, so basically a coin flip, 49.21. So that leans over. Again, each team will extend the game as much as possible and try and score points till the very end because their season is on the line. If the Eagles end up getting an extra, I doubt it will go to 2.5, but if they do get an extra point, I would take the Eagles. Eagles have played very poorly the last couple of weeks, but I feel like this is a bounce-back game, especially if the weather is not very cooperative. I don't feel like the Cowboys playing in outdoor cold weather will excel on the offensive end. Cardinals at the Seahawks. A nothing game for the Cardinals, but big game for the Seahawks. They need to secure that number 1 seed with a win, and they're minus 10. 51 is the total. I have them at minus 9.27, 50.13, so it's right on. I feel like if you got over 10, you got to 11 or 12, that the Cardinals would be a good cover scenario. They can score points, and they can score points late. So, they're getting better. It's their first season with a new coach and a new quarterback, and they've really improved over time. Chiefs and the Bears Sunday night. Bears +6, 44.5. I have them at +7.42 and 46.15. So that leans over. It all depends on what the Bears can score. You think the Chiefs are going to score 24, 25 points for sure. And then it's up to the Bears to score the other 17. I don't know. That's my model says take the over, but I think I have to pass on that game. And then Monday night, a very important game for the NFC North, the Packers and the Vikings. The Packers have a stranglehold on the division, but the Vikings have played pretty much just as well. They have the Vikings minus 5.5 at home, and 46 is the total. I have it at minus 6.44, 46.12, but there's one caveat here, and that's if Dalvin Cook plays or not. He is the running back for the Vikings, their number one guy. And without him, I feel like this game shifts back to the Packers. And if he is not going to play, I think the Packers getting 6 points is great for a cover. And you might want to take a position on it now. And then you can always, if you're not happy with it on Monday, you can buy out of it. But I feel like if Dalvin Cook does not play, that the Packers are in a real good position to compete for this game. So that's a full schedule of NFL, and we're going to wrap things up with my picks. And you might have sneaked a peek at them at the beginning there. But on Friday night in the NHL, I decided to go with the Penguins and the Oilers over 6 at plus 100. I feel like one of or both of these teams could light it up tonight. And, usually when one of the teams is tired from a long road trip, that means that scoring happens. Then Saturday, I've got the Bills plus 6.5, plus 100. It was minus 120 to take them at plus 7. I feel like the Bills, they only lost by 6 at home. 6.5, that may end up screwing me, but go Bills. I feel like the tide is turning. Tom Brady did not get elected to the Pro Bowl this year, so he is no longer elite. And then Saturday night, we have the Rams and the 49ers over 44. Like I said, both of these teams need this game. Will try to score points unless it gets unusually lopsided. Minus 106 on that game. And then on Sunday, I took the Falcons minus 7 at home against the Jaguars at minus 113. I feel like they could cover that. The Jags will not score a lot of points. So if the Falcons can get their 3 touchdowns or whatever in there, I think they're going to be good to go. And then the Broncos at home, minus 7, plus 102 against the Lions, who are just playing out the string. And I feel like there will be a nice bounce-back game for them after that crazy snow fiasco in Kansas City. So that's going to do it today. Thanks for watching. I'm not certain that we will have a program over the holidays, but if not, we will see you in the new year. And enjoy your bowl season, and we'll play the outro music for you. And thanks. We'll catch you on the next time. Take care, everybody.